Hey everyone, welcome to the Gamer's Refuge. Um, I heard something not too long ago. They're going to be doing a remake of Final Fantasy VII. Now, this is a really big deal, at least for me. I got really excited when I heard this because I remember back in the day when the original Final Fantasy VII was released for PlayStation. We refer to it today as PS1, but back then we referred to it simply as PlayStation because it was the first. It was the first game system of, you know, this kind, really. I mean, it was the first PlayStation, period. So, I remember going out, putting a PlayStation on layaway, and the very first game I bought for this PlayStation was Final Fantasy VII, the original, and I still have the original case and original discs to this day. This still sits in my collection. This was my all-time favorite game. Even to this day, it's still my favorite game of all time. So, naturally, I was very excited to hear that they were finally doing a remake. I've been waiting for this for years, for updated graphics, and, with the original game, just update the graphics and throw some voice acting in, or whatever, and just leave the rest of it alone, and this doesn't seem to be what's going to happen here, though. Some of the things I've heard, one, it appears that the battle system is changing. Originally, it was turn-based. You select your moves, you do them, then, of course, the enemy, they do their moves, and it's all done in turns. Well, this appears like it's going to be more action-based, like live action. But there's still a hint of some menus during battle going on, so I'm not exactly sure what it's going to. I don't know if it's still going to be sort of turn-based combat, but you can move your character around, dodging attacks or something. I don't know. I really, as more information becomes available, I'll be interested in seeing exactly what they're doing with that. But at this point, I personally don't know what they're doing with it. The other thing, probably the biggest thing that concerns me, is I heard that this is going to be, what they call an episodic game. They're releasing it in episodes, and I'm beginning to see this as a trend more and more with games, like Life is Strange. It's an episodic game done in 5 episodes. The Walking Dead, another episodic game. And it seems to be becoming more commonplace, and now Final Fantasy VII is going to be done in episodes. I'm not sure which way I'm going to lean on this yet. Part of me is disappointed. A part of me doesn't want to see this happen because, the original game was released on 3 discs. This is back in the 90s on the regular flat, or the black-faced CDs, and storage capacities were limited back then. Now, they claim the reason, at least one of the reasons they give for making this an episodic game, is that the game would be, if they went with the original game and all, it would just be too big by today's standards for the graphics and whatnot. Redoing the original game with the updated graphics and voice acting, it would just be too big. But then they turn around and say that they're going to add more stuff. They're going to, you're going to be able to explore places in Midgar that you couldn't before, and all that. But I was like, but the game's too big, to be released, in a single out. But you're going to make it bigger. So I'm thinking maybe what they meant by it was that with all the stuff they're adding, it would just be too massive to release all at one time. A part of me just wants to call bullshit on that. With today's technology, multi-layered Blu-rays and all that, which I think there are some multi-layered Blu-rays that can hold upwards of like 128 gigs per disc, which is like fucking massive. It's just like, how big is the game going to be? They could use 2, 3, 4 multi-layered Blu-rays, if they had to, I would be fine with that. If it took 3 or 4 days to fully install this massive ass game onto my computer, I would be fine with that. If the game was so big that you had to play it straight off the disc like you did back in the day, I would be fine with that. I really would. But like I said, I don't know what to think about this just yet. Like I said, a part of me is disappointed. A part of me is screaming, no, no, no. And I've also heard, a rumor, which I haven't really looked at any of this. I haven't looked up this particular one yet. Which I do intend to, but I guess the original person who did the original music score for Final Fantasy VII, I hear will not be doing the score for the new one. And if that is the case, that's rather disappointing, because I wanted to hear the same music score, but get rid of the MIDI type sound, and do that music, those melodies, with like a full orchestra. Just really bring it out, and just make it more powerful, where the music just grabs you and just pulls you in. And especially, the very, ending music when you're fighting, the one-wing Sephiroth. That music's going on in the background. You hear the orchestra come through, and that was one of the things in the original game where you could hear the orchestra and them chanting the song in the back. There's one variation of that I heard that was like fucking awesome, and they added like distorted heavy metal guitars into it. It was just fucking epic. I'd love to see him do something like that. But I'm getting off track here. I got mixed emotions about the episodic release. And I'm just hoping that Square Enix doesn't fuck this up. I hope they don't take a legendary game like Final Fantasy VII and just rape it. And even with the episodic releases, it's like, okay, how much time are we talking in between episodes? Is it a couple weeks? Is it a month? Is it 3 months? 6 months? That's still, I haven't heard anything about, the length of time you would expect to wait between episodes. So, nothing's worse than getting through the first episode and then having to wait and wait and wait to continue, your gameplay. So, the other question is, how much are they going to be charging per episode? If this is going to be like the traditional episodic type release, there's most likely going to be probably about maybe 5 episodes. That's just speculation on my part. I don't know. But I'm just guessing. How much per episode are they going to charge? Are they going to charge $60 per episode? If so, that's fucking insane. Considering you can buy, most new releases now for $60 for the entire game, not including DLCs and all that bullshit, of course. But, I'm hoping they don't charge that much to where, where you can buy the whole, all the episodes for, somewhere in the $60, area would be nice. But, that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens there. I'm just going to sit back, and as the development of this game continues, I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I may do, another video later on, with more updated information as it becomes available, and go from there. But for right now, keep your fingers crossed, and Square Enix, don't fuck up Final Fantasy VII. Okay? If you do, you're going to have a lot of pissed off gamers. So, keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully they don't fuck this up. I hope they don't. I'm interested in seeing what they do with this. So, just hang in there. As a lot more information becomes available, I may do an update to this one. But for now, those are my concerns. I don't know which way to lean on this. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just hoping that they don't fuck up Final Fantasy VII. You know, it's too great of a game. It's too legendary of a game. You know, to drag it through the mud and rape the living shit out of it. You know, hopefully they do right by it and do right by the gamers as well that supported them in the early years when they bought the living shit out of the original Final Fantasy VII and, you know, basically made Square Enix the company they are today. So hopefully they remember that. Hopefully they do right by us and do right by the game as well. So that's all I got for now. You know, leave some comments down below. Let me know what your opinions are on this. You know, and like I said, just keep your fingers crossed that they don't fuck it up. So, see you all later. And until next time, I will see you in the games.